African people have a long and storied history with significant contributions to the world. However, since our arrival in the United States, the challenges placed before people of African descent have been enormous. From the brutality of enslavement, to a flimsy hold on freedom, to the civil rights movement, the achievements of African Americans stand out because of the constant barriers placed before them. The reason for most of these achievements can be linked to the strong value systems that our African ancestors brought with them from the homeland when captured and forced into slavery. Africans brought a strong family structure, a responsibility to their community, the ability to adapt to any situation, and a powerful belief in spirituality. Strong African values like spirituality, family ties, a sense of belonging to a community, and a belief in fairness and justice sustained Africans through slavery, lynchings, and countless years of poverty and oppression. These values provided a way when things seemed hopeless. No other people have given so much to this country and received so little in return.
We declare our right on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Let us be willing to turn the other cheek with the realization that it is better to go through life with a scarred up body than with a scarred up soul.
The challenges African Americans face today can be linked to several problems rooted in racism. The impact of addiction erodes the life chances, family life, sense of community, and traditions of African Americans. One of the most destructive forces confronting the African American community is substance abuse. Alcohol and drugs have become the catalyst for a new slavery called addiction. The social and economic realities in the community must be understood before recovery can take place. There are many reasons why alcohol and drugs are abused in the African American community, especially when racism changes how we see ourselves and each other.
You wish you had hair like this.
Girl, you know you weren't even born with blue eyes.
That's right. Blue contact lenses. They're just jealous.
Right.
Jealous?
Rachel.
Feelings of not being good enough, unmet needs, and rejection arise. For example, being color-struck.
Pickaninny, Barbie doll, high yellow heifer,
Tar baby. Wanna be white, jigaboo.
don't start. We're gonna finish it.
In the 60s, it was all about the color of your skin, you know, and I'm the darkest of all my sisters and brothers. And my younger sister, and I had very short hair, and it was very nappy, you know, and my younger sister came out light-skinned, curly, wavy, long hair, and everybody would talk about how beautiful she was, and I hated her. You know, I hated her because they weren't talking about me.
And I think there were like 2, maybe 3 blacks in my grammar school. And we didn't associate with each other because that wasn't the end thing. The end thing was to assimilate and be as much like a white as I could. So I went to school and I tried to be like I was white, and I came home and got into blackberry wine and killed the feelings.
Many young African American males learn to play the hard role while growing up. They don't know that a sense of peace and strength comes with self-expression. For this reason, many African American men are hardened when they are boys, long before they reach manhood.
Can we have one night where there ain't no fight, nobody gets shot?
Not being able to share feelings of anger and fear as young males are key reasons why many African American men struggle with being open and expressive.
I lied to Pops yesterday. Told him I wasn't no virgin.
Well, you ain't a virgin, is you?
Well, technically speaking, I haven't.
Why not, man?
Don't you really want to know?
Yeah, I asked you, didn't
I was afraid.
One of the hardest things for me to do was to go around the people that I hung around with and talk about feelings. See, the people I hung out with, I couldn't go up and say, I'm lonely, man. You know, I couldn't walk up to them people and say, I just feel like crying. I don't know what's wrong. I couldn't do that because the type of people I hung around with, they had feelings, but the game of the day was not to have feelings.
Or not to show those feelings.
Or not to show those feelings, exactly. So when I say that I'm a black man that's in the recovery process, doesn't put me apart. That does not mean that I will not share myself with other addicts that are not of the same hue as I am. But what that means is that I've come into the acceptance of the fact that I am a black man and that I have some issues in my life that need to be addressed simply because life as we know it today in America impacts us differently.
Huh? You listening?
Yeah.
Many believe that the racist decisions by people outside the community keep African Americans oppressed.
Ain't nobody from outside bringing down the property value. It's these folk shooting each other and selling that crack rock and shit.
Well, how you think the crack rock gets into the country? We don't own any planes. We don't own no ships. But we are not the people who are flying and floating that shit in here. I know every time you turn on the TV, that's what you see, black people selling the rock. Yeah, I know. But that wasn't a problem as long as it was here. Wasn't a problem until it was in Iowa, and it showed up on Wall Street where there are hardly any black people. Now, if you want to talk about guns, why is it that there's a gun shop on almost every corner in this community?
Why?
Tell you why. For the same reason that there's a liquor store on almost every corner in the black community. Why? They want us to kill ourselves. You go out to Beverly Hills, you don't see that shit. But they want us to kill ourselves.
Living in a world where African Americans were once bought and sold sometimes makes it hard, even today, to believe in oneself. Others feel that the negative images of African Americans still have a hold on us today.
One of the reasons I got loaded was because I was a black man. And it wasn't until I got off into the process that I really realized that. And you mentioned the very key issue, which is self-esteem. I didn't think anything of myself.
One of the things I often talk about is that, did I like being high or did I like getting high? You know, when I first started drinking and using, it was with the fellas. It was a camaraderie thing. This is something we did together, you know. But as my addiction progressed, it got so that I liked being high so that I could not deal with those feelings.
Don't worry about it. I got her.
Man, she all right?
Yeah.
All right, G.
Cheryl! Come on!
Keep your baby out the street. She's gonna get hit one of these days.
You got some blow? You got some rock?
For many African American women, addiction to drugs and alcohol often means being sexually victimized.
On the streets, if I was going out to make some money, okay, I would make sure that I'm loaded, okay? I make sure that I made me some money or whatever. And now, when I had to wake up to get my fix, right, I would do it another way. I would go in the stores and boost, you know, without being loaded to make my money. But when I went on the streets to work, I had to be intoxicated, under the influence of everything, you know. I had to be, you see, I was like, you know, I had a plan, you know what I mean? And being on the streets, you know, and I didn't, when I went home and laid my head down, I was pretty much tired, you know, and I didn't think about, you know, that was some scandalous shit you did.
last night or earlier or whatever. You know, I didn't think about that. I was just so caught up in my disease, I lost myself, who I was as a black woman or as a woman, period.
It took me a while after I got in recovery to admit that I used to be a call girl. And basically, a call girl is just a prostitute that uses the telephone. You know, I mean, I didn't have the guts and the balls to go out and stand on the corner and say, okay, I'm gonna turn this trick and I'm gonna get this money and I'm gonna go fix. You know, my thing was more or less just part of a lifestyle. This is the way I set up in my mind so I could accept myself. You know, I'm gonna tell you that a lot of time that I was not loaded, I was seriously suicidally depressed. I had people that would come around my house. If I hadn't had any means to get any drugs and I'd been sober for a couple, 2-3 weeks, there was garbage piled up in my kitchen. My dishes would be piled up to the ceiling. There'd be roaches and whatever else could get in.
No dime back, little girl. Take care of this one, all right? He's standing right there on the corner.
As members of the community, we must look at how our actions play into the problems which exist today. We must understand how violence, self-hatred, acting out of character, and crime contribute to the devastating effects of drug and alcohol abuse.
Nothing personal, kid.
Los Angeles was the victim when I was getting loaded because I really had no boundaries when I was getting loaded. Wherever I needed to go to do what I needed to do to get my fix, I did it. I did it. Los Angeles was my playground, and whatever I needed to do to get done for myself, what I needed to get done, it took place right here in Los Angeles.
The answer is no!
We are reminded daily how addiction hurts everyone in the community.
In order for me to get right, I need money!
You'd feel a whole lot better if you had a bath! Boy, the devil's got you.
What should we do?
75 cents! The hell I'm gonna do with 75 cents?
Substance abuse has been called chemical slavery, suicide. One thing is certain, without treatment, it's a way to a slow or quick death.
I gave you last time, and the time before that, and the time before that.
Fucking money! Mama, give me some money!
Don't you raise your voice at me. I'm stealing your mother.
As God is my witness, this is my last time. I swear up on God and 4 more white people, this is the very last time. I swear.
My mother was real significant in the fact of me getting in recovery. And I thank God that she had got some information about codependency. And she let me know that I could no longer come to her house and misuse her in terms of monetarily and misuse her apartment.
If we're going to get the community really involved, we have to educate them. Because the community, and particularly the African American community, is educated by the media. We're conditioned to negativity. And what we have to do is get to the people with the positive message.
I had Kenesha when I was 15. I don't want no welfare, so I quit school, worked, came home at night, didn't have no life.
You have a responsibility to your parents, your children, and your brothers and sisters to be contributing members of the community.
Is that what you're doing now? I'm just not getting back on my feet, you know. As I get clean, I see myself for what I am. And I hate it. And I don't want her to see me like this no more. So when the people from the foster home came by, I thought it was the right thing to do. Why would I want to get rid of her? I love her more than myself.
Ask yourself, what legacy will I leave behind? How am I going to contribute to my community? What kind of role model will I be to my community and to the children after me?
Can you stand alone like a man has to?
Yes.
Go find your boy. Save his life.
I'll do it. If it takes my life, I'll do it.
I have 2 sons, and it's real interesting because I know that one day, God willing, they'll grow up to be black men. And there are some things that I still need to learn to be able to pass on to them.
Making an effort to help yourself and getting support from others is the way to get a handle on addiction. Through sobriety and recovery, you'll recognize the strength that you have through your connection and honesty with others.
Whatever you need to go through with in recovery, it gets better. You know, recovery works. You know, I mean, it's worked for me. It's worked for other black women that I know of. It works, and that's the only way to go today. You know, and when we come into recovery, we come in here with a whole lot of vulnerability, a whole lot of issues that we brought from the streets. You know, and if we're willing to walk through the door, at least through the door, and to say I'm ready, you can do it. You know, and that's real hard, but it's okay. And if we have the role models to continue to stay sober and clean in this program or in recovery, then we'll carry the next one through. You know, so what I have to say to another black woman in recovery is that it works. Just have the willingness to take a step, and we'll help you take the rest.
African American women are among the largest abstainers from alcohol and drug abuse. They must look to one another for insight, comfort, and strength.
There's a lot of love in recovery. And that was something that I felt I was looking for a lot of years and didn't know how to go about finding it. And when I got around a lot of the women in the program, they told me that the love was within myself. You know, so I found that I didn't have much self-esteem, and I didn't have a spiritual part of my life. And I learned, you know, through this 12-step program that I belong to, that you find a God, you know, and I stick with the winners.
I know for me that there's some more growth to be done, and I need to seek a place for me to be able to address these issues. Not to say that recovery hasn't worked up to this point, because it has, but I know that I'm at a point now where there needs to be some more growth in my life, and it seems like it's related to the spiritual aspect of my life.
As the African proverb states, it takes a village to raise a child. Given the chance, our village of support can help you rise from the depths of chemical slavery.
See, Daddy, sinners have soul too.